Hey, it's Bram Duffee. Welcome back to Public Speaking Class, where today we're going to be talking about the use of your body in delivering public speeches. So, a lot of this has to do with the topic of nonverbal communication. And nonverbal communication operates through two primary channels. There's a hearing channel, which is what we hear beyond the actual words spoken, and then the visual channel, which is what we see. So the hearing channel consists of vocalizations or paralanguage that accompany the spoken words. The visual channel involves evaluating messages sent by physical appearance, body language. All this stuff includes facial expressions, eye behavior, gestures, and general body movement. Nonverbal clues play a really important part of the audience's connection to you as a speaker. It really sets up the audience's perception of your competence, of your character, if you're a trustworthy person even. So all of this kind of stuff matters and makes a difference. These audience members are more easily persuaded by speakers who use a vocal variety, who maintain eye contact, who nod at the listeners, who interact with them, and have an open body posture. When you practice speaking on your video, because I'm expecting you're going to practice that way, I want you to consider how to incorporate your facial expressions and gestures and general body movement into your speech. Animated facial expressions allow your audience to gauge your feelings on a topic, and a friendly demeanor, often signaled by smiling, is appreciated by your audience, and it helps build rapport. Eyebrow movements can help create a connection, and it's just important that your facial expressions correspond to the occasion of the speech, so that also what you're saying matches what is coming across. So one of the slide presentations that I uploaded for you this week is called COM Nonverbal. So it's like COMM Nonverbal. And I uploaded that for you so that you can get a quick view through those slides of the different types of nonverbal communication that are at play that we work with. And so that's just I'm mentioning as a sort of a summary set of slides. But the other set of slides that I want to mention are called COM Nonverbal Faces. So the word faces is in it. And the reason is because it's a slide presentation that highlights aspects from this book. And this book on facial expressions is pretty remarkable. I found it because my mother has a friend that I was visiting my mom, and she was and I was with my mom who was visiting her friend, right? So let me say that again. I was visiting my mom in Atlanta, but I was with my mom while I was there, and we were visiting her friend. So her friend, who was in her 70s, had a library that was really remarkable, and I found this particular book in there. And you know how you have with Amazon, you can just scan stuff and find it fast, and I scanned 3 of the books that she had in her library because I wanted them, and I was able to find this one used. This facial expression book, let me tell you about it and why it's so cool. A lot of the aspects from this book I put in that Faces slideshow for you to see. And what these are different expressions that are made with deep intent. And interestingly enough, they're studied in this book by artists. So if you are learning to draw a portrait and you want to draw a face with a particular facial expression, then there's a match for you. So angry, sad, and any expression between that and glee and disdain and all of those kinds of things have a particular aspect to them. So some things might involve more of this part of your face, or more of the eyes intently, or more of the mouth, or it's very interesting to look through. So I wanted to give you that slide presentation so you could see some of these faces and think about how, oh my gosh, even artists have to think intently about how they want the emotion to come across. And based on that, there's a whole protocol for them on how to draw, how to put that together. And so for goodness sakes, if they as artists have to think about it on that level, then we, when we're performing in the moment, when we're wanting people to get the messages from us, we have to think about it too. So maintaining eye contact during your speech is one of the most important actions in public speaking. It establishes this positive listener relationship, and it maintains some of the quality that comes through with you being able to be direct. And it respects the audience, it acknowledges who they are, and it's really good to practice scanning in clusters. And so what I do is I move the gaze from one listener to another just long enough to complete one thought. And so in a large room of maybe 200 people, I would end up looking at the audience in clusters and complete one thought before moving on to another cluster. So if I have an audience that's in front of me like this, I could easily break that audience into 6 quadrants, right, in my mind. So it's almost like I could pretend like I am one of those folks who are out in front of the crowd just before a concert, trying to hype everything up, throwing t-shirts, right? And I'm going to throw a t-shirt to the center of the crowd up high. And then I'm going to throw a t-shirt down low to the bottom part. And then I'm going to throw a t-shirt up high on the right side. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of throwing out the message. As a public speaker, especially with a large audience, I'm going to do that same technique. Only instead of throwing a towel or a t-shirt out to the audience, I'm going to throw my message. And like I said, the way it works is that I'm going to complete my sentence. I'm going to complete my thought by continuing to look at that group, to continue to look at that person. Depends if it's the size of the room. And then after that thought is completed, then I'm able to move on to another quadrant. And so this kind of performance is what helps the audience feel like you are there with them. You know, the other alternative to this is to just look at the people that are looking at you already. But the problem is that you really can't catch those people that are half looking at you, or people that aren't always engaged. And then the people that are looking back at you could start to feel overwhelmed because they're like, oh, well, they keep staring only at me. So the best way to focus your performance is to do this in clusters. And even if the people aren't looking at you, we don't care, all right? Because somebody's looking at you in that room, and you participating in that action, you moving around the room with your eyes like that, helps even the person that you're not looking at that moment, even that person can feel included by your performance in that way. So we want to move the gaze from one listener to another long enough to complete one thought before shifting. You know, physical gestures are something that put out genuine emotions, and they confirm your personality. They create a feeling of immediacy and a physical closeness. All that stuff can enhance the effectiveness of your speech. And we want to avoid being just a talking head, someone who just remains steadily positioned in one place behind a microphone or podium, because it makes you back into this machine that we talked about, right? You don't want to be perceived as that machine, because just by having anything that has that bore aspect to it can end up detracting from your message, because the audience doesn't have any dynamics to your words. So you can encourage immediacy by making frequent eye contact, animate your facial expressions, smile when it's appropriate, use natural body movements, and then the vocal variety. Maintain an upright posture, but not stiff, right? So using all these natural gestures that allow yourself to be open to the audience, that's what gets you there. So let's hit some of these key elements. The first one, just to remind us about, is posture. Your posture sends a definite message to the audience. So standing up up tall really portrays an authoritative message. And it's the opposite of slouching, which can make you feel or seem sloppy or unfocused. And good posture also aids in proper breathing and improves your vocal tone in general. I may have mentioned it before, I know I did, but I just wanted to say it again. The Superman pose works, okay? So let's say you're nervous and you're in front of a group of people and you need to get some confidence. You may not even be in a public speaking situation. It's okay. Just put your feet firmly on the floor, about shoulder width apart, and put your hands on your hips. And that feeling of confidence will come upon you. This is talked about a lot in public speaking literature, and it's called the Superman pose. So that kind of action is also something that helps your posture, right? It puts it out there. Now, let's touch on appearance. You know, the first thing that the audience is likely to notice is how you're dressed. And so dressing appropriately can significantly impact your audience's perception of you. Factors to consider when deciding what to wear include what does that audience expect, and what's the nature of the speech occasion, and what is the image that you want to convey, because even casual dress should project a responsible, incredible, confident image. But remember that everything is a projection of your appearance. So I had a fellow executive one time talk to me about how it looked kind of sloppy that I had my cell phone in my pocket all the time. I don't see if I'm talking to you on my cell phone. My cell phone's really big. So my cell phone normally, even though I wear a suit jacket, my cell phone I normally wear in my pocket like this. And this was an older executive lady who I very much respected and appreciated her telling me this, because, you know, I walk around thinking I don't have like something stuck to my face. And in all actuality, I'm looking sloppy and don't know it. So just think about that. I was sharp and looked awesome, and the one thing that just blurred it all out was my cell phone slogging out of my pocket and holding it down. So sometimes double checking ourselves is important. And I know that, you know, you may not be there to be on a date, but your appearance matters when it comes to how people perceive you. So it's just like having a tarnish, right? So let's say everything is so awesome about this person, about this presentation, about what's going on here, but there's this one thing. It's really easy for people to pick that one thing out. And if you dress appropriately, then it's going to help you feel confident, exude confidence, and the other things will snap in place. All right. So that's what I'd say about looking the part. Other than we in this class don't wear things that are going to detract from us, right? So in your speeches for our class, I want to be able to see your face, your shoulders, you. And so it works out, for example, so that, gosh, maybe you could wear a hat or some kind of headgear, maybe, right? But I don't think it would be awesome if you wore some kind of headgear plus eyeglasses at the same time. Because what did that just do? It just put this, put all of these things between you and your personality and the audience. So I'm saying that these are things that we need to think about. Of course, if you have to have glasses to read, it's important, but it just means that maybe it's time to do a trade-off so that we make sure that we do our hair instead of having just that way we just have the one obstacle. So the planning ahead and practicing, even when we do it with unrealistic conditions, like pretend conditions, this makes a difference in our effectiveness. And I want to suggest that you begin practicing several days ahead of time and keep in mind things like the seating arrangement and what it's going to be like. I'm telling you this right now, and I am preparing my own big time presentation that that I'm going to be traveling to the middle of the country to do next month. And you better believe I am practicing. I don't want to practice, but I'm practicing. And as I practice, I'm imagining myself in that theater with those 200 people and delivering the message in a way so that the message is the focus. And sometimes that means that that I have to stop thinking about myself and the way that I am looking to the audience, because I'm on stage and I have to think about the message and put all of the focus there, because focusing on your message rather than on yourself can just make your delivery more natural and confident. So by mastering these skills, you can impact speeches that really resonate with your audience. And it all begins with thinking and planning about using our body in delivering speeches. Thanks for watching today.